Hi, welcome to another episode of the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm Steve Richardson, a bankruptcy attorney trying to keep people on their path to financial stability and independence through education. The current economy has people stressed out with inflation and talk of an impending recession. As a result, the process of saving for retirement, already seen by many as a slog and a struggle, can seem even more difficult and anxiety-inducing. That's why in this episode of the podcast, I talk with Dawn Dahlby, who is not only a certified financial planner, but also a behavioral financial advisor. From her, we can learn how to find financial peace and happiness in troubling economic times. My guest today is Dawn Dahlby, a certified financial planner, wellness expert, and author of the upcoming book, Live Wealthy, W-E-L-L, Wealthy, Own Your Worth, Grow Your Wealth. She's the country's first behavioral financial advisor, a certification that focuses on both the emotional and practical aspects of managing money. Over her years as a financial advisor, she realized that people have anxiety about money, and that if they want true financial freedom, they need to transform their thoughts and emotions, not just their bank accounts. To better serve them, she developed a program that helps people earn, own, and grow as they pursue the freedom of being truly wealthy. Her process helps people identify what they want out of life, and she provides proven tools so people can get the money to make it happen. Through the process, people learn to stop worrying about spending today in their efforts to save for tomorrow, and instead find financial peace and happiness. Well, welcome to the show, Dawn.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here, Steve. Thank you for having me.
And that was quite a mouthful of an introduction, but
It's all
it
good.
covers quite a bit.
And now we can get into the real conversation, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting what you're a behavioral financial advisor. In a previous episode of the podcast, I interviewed a psychologist on the stresses of debt and trying to get out of debt and how that can affect you psychologically and how to deal with it. It sounds like that's kind of part of what you do. So I guess my first question is, we've all heard of certified financial planners, but what's a behavioral financial advisor and what does that involve?
Well, great question. Well, I've been in the industry for 23 years. I've sat in over 10,000 one-on-one client meetings. And I realized that we all, our clients, myself, you, we all need more advice than just the technical aspects about building wealth, because I saw fear dictating all of our lives. And it's the fear of either, I would see it come out in a couple of different ways. I'd see, first of all, the fear come out in how, I as a certified financial advisor, I do comprehensive financial planning, use these really amazing tools to help clients know if they're going to have enough. And I can tell people with a 99% probability of success that they are not going to run out of money if that's the case ever in their life. But then I watch the result of their reaction to that result. And I was like, oh my gosh, people still don't believe me. Even with this high technical software where we're running thousands of different scenarios of inflation, performance, their spending, like all these different scenarios that I can say 99% probability you're not going to run out of money. And I'd watch clients go, like, they would still fear that they didn't have enough. And so I saw, wow, people either continue to over save because they fear they're not going to have enough. And then I saw a whole different group of people in my practice that people also overspend out of a fear of not being enough. And so fear is this, it's around fear that causes us to not make good decisions with our wealth. You, Steve, brought up debt. Like, so many of us have debt. And if you start peeling back the why behind the debt, it's not necessarily the debt itself, it's how we're reacting to life internally. And we need to either understand how to make more income so we don't have that debt, or we need to understand more how we're spending our income to get out of that debt. So when I talk to people about getting out of debt, I don't first just solve the debt problem, because honestly, it's kind of easy. It's
Mhm.
kind of easy if you work with someone like me. It's easy to solve the debt problem. It might take years to get out of debt, depends on how much you have. But to solve the most efficient way to get out of that debt is the easy part. It's so we don't repeat that behavior again and again and again.
So, as a behavioral financial advisor, I mean, you talked about what you do as a financial advisor and a financial planner, and walking people through their investment portfolio, how that's going to make sure that they don't run out of money. But how do you deal with the behavioral aspect? What's that additional layer over
Yes.
top of the financial planner? What's your value add in that behavioral aspect?
It's really understanding the full client. Us certified financial planners tell everyone in the world that we're fiduciary advisors. A
Mhm.
fiduciary is someone that we take the oath to make sure that we are making and giving advice on the client's best interest.
Mhm.
And in order to really give advice in the client's best interest, it's not just knowing the client's financial goals. It's knowing all that is them. And so, like, understanding their vision, their purpose, their strengths, their core values,
Mhm.
understanding their weakness, understanding who they are, how they think, how they react to life, understanding all of that, so you can really help them get to their financial, like, how they want, not just their financial goals, but how they want to spend their time and how they want to spend their life. And to me, that's the true definition of being a fiduciary. It's not just understanding the goals, it's understanding their core values and how you want to spend your time and your money. It's understanding people's strengths and how you can really utilize your strengths to making more income. It's understanding the client as a whole. And that's the difference.
Okay. Well, in an interview I did recently, in talking about with another expert, and he was saying that people are living longer and longer. You know that we're coming to the point where 50% of the people that are aging might live to 90 or 100.
Mhm.
So, to some extent, that fear that people are saying that don't worry, you won't run out of money or you're going to be fine depends on how long they're going to live, how long their retirement's going to be, and they're going to need that money. Are they able to live on the income from principal without invading the corpus? And I guess that's what you try to structure to make sure they don't run out of money.
Well, I'll say a couple things about that. First of all, many of us are living longer, which
Mhm.
means that we're not going to be retired for 50 years now,
Mhm.
because we still have, like, energy and life to give back to society. And when you do that, you can earn an income doing that. So you
Mhm.
don't necessarily need a portfolio to last for 50 years, because you can actually continue to make some income during retirement. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you do a financial plan, it's not necessarily of just holding on to the principal. Like, we have clients that take out their interest in their principal at the same time. But it's just about knowing what their legacy is and what they want to leave when they're gone. Because if we are living longer, people want to share their financial resources with their family, and while they're here, not just passing that money away after they've passed away. So it's like, it's really understanding, and it's critical to have a wealth plan, a wealth alignment plan, because that really helps people make really good decisions while they're living longer.
Mhm. Well, and also the stress, and I had a recent episode on this. With what we're going through right now, there's a lot of upheaval. There's inflation that's making it more difficult for people to set aside any money because their incomes remain fixed and the prices are going up, and they're feeling squeezed. And then there's constant talk of a recession at some point. Do you see that increasing people's stress and the people that talk to you? And if so, how do you deal with it? What do you tell them?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think right now there's a lot of media talk about
Mhm.
it. We know inflation's real. Okay, we all know that. We know that. I mean, a recession is inevitable. I
Mhm.
understand that, but in my world, I don't see people like, I go out to dinner or lunch. I see people all over the place still,
Mhm.
like, out spending their money. So I question the the extent of how inflation is really impacting people, and this recession that they're in, because I don't necessarily see that when I
Mm,
go out and look at what's going on. But the reality is, whether it's now or if it's 6 months from now, things are going to start, like the economy, it's going to get tough. We already know that. We just maybe haven't felt it yet, because
mm,
people are still going, like, I just want to, like, I was in my house for 2 years because of COVID. I need to get out and live my life. So I think that's what we're seeing. But yes, things are going to slow down, and we're going to see less and less people out spending their discretionary money. But here's what I always say to that. There are opportunities in every single environment. You know, I never allow the external circumstances to get in my way of how I choose to react and behave in those environments. Um, and yes, the markets are crazy. They're still crazy, but like, there's opportunity. In a recession, there's opportunity for work. There's opportunities in the markets to become, to have your money work really hard for you, especially now in the markets that we're seeing. And I just think, like, if we as human beings sit there and let the external noise like run our decisions, I mean, that's horrible, because
mm,
I'm telling you, recessions don't happen that often.
mm,
And market volatility, it doesn't happen that often, bear markets. And when they happen, they're short lived. So it's
mm.
like taking advantage of the opportunity that we're in right now and not allowing that to control our lives. And that's what I think I get so frustrated with, is like, oh, we're in the recession, or the markets are like, really? So that's going to control your behavior and how you act as a human being and how you go after the opportunities that are in front of you. I think it's just an excuse. It happens all the time. There's, ebbs and flows in markets and economies, and they're short lived. So now's the time to make a difference in your life, because there's opportunity all over the place.
Well, I think the important thing to bear in mind in any bear market or recession is that, historically speaking, as I understand it, these lows, these drops, are almost always followed by a sudden uptick, a surge upwards. So, that's the important thing to bear in mind, is that it is temporary. Yes, you're going to go through. I mean, we had the Great Recession that lasted longer than a lot of other recessions have, but we've seen these dips where there's then a surge. So while there's a dip and stocks are on sale, then you buy them at a lower price, knowing that there's going to be a surge, and you take advantage of that. And that gives you that hope that it's going to get better, and you're going to and you have an opportunity there to do even better than if you were in a bull market.
So let me share with you on what you just said, that surge.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did some research on this, and I looked at back from 1950 to today. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking 73 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's been 11 bear markets, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what has been the average rate of return after those 11 bear markets that we've been in? And let me tell you, I'm drumming roll. Okay, because I just did the research, and I don't expect you to know it, Steve,
Mm-hmm.
because I just did it.
Right.
It's 41, like over 40%. The average annual rate of return after a bear market since 1950, 11 bear markets, has been over 40% rate of return in the first year. And I believe the next 3 years after that is 17-ish%. And the next 5 years is like 11.5%.
Mm-hmm.
So there's huge opportunities. So I'll tell people, if they have their money on the sidelines, or
Mm-hmm.
they have time before they retire, because we're all living longer and we're not retiring at 55 anymore, then if you have some room, if you have at least 7 years before you retire, like, you might want to put a little bit more money in the stock market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or even, by the way, the fixed income markets, the bond markets
Mm-hmm.
are on extreme sale. Like, we haven't had this downturn in the bond market since 19, I believe, 76.
Oh, wow.
So there's huge opportunities, even in the conservative markets right now, to get your stuff together and have your money work harder than you do for it.
Right.
Such opportunity.
So instead of being stressed out, you should really double down during a bear market, because you're going to see those returns. And I mean, it's 40% because you're coming from a low up to a high, as
Yeah.
opposed to a rate of return in a steady market that might be a bull market.
Yeah.
So that is reflected in that surge. But I think that historically, the rate of return in the market, even going back and including the Great Depression, has been what, 10, 11%?
Probably a little under 10, but
Oh, okay.
still, I mean, fantastic. Where else can you get a 10% rate of return or
Hmm.
even a 9% rate of return by just giving a fiduciary or a custodian your money,
Right.
right? So someone that you trust saying, here, work, and you don't have to do anything. You
Hmm.
just get to sit back and watch it grow. Like real estate on average doesn't even return that type of return. And a lot of times you got to do the work.
Hmm.
And then you have to pay the taxes on that gain. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. There's so much opportunity when you make really good decisions with your money.
Hmm.
And that's the key. And I think so many times, I just got off a huge event that I did this past weekend, talking to thousands of people. And the reason why people don't get started to get their money going is because they sometimes don't even know where to start. Like they don't know who to talk to.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you that you need to connect with a fiduciary advisor and get advice. Like we're all getting advice online right now, and it's so scary, and who you trust and who you don't. Like
Hmm.
look for someone that's experienced, that has the credentials,
Hmm.
the legal credentials behind their name, and take their advice. Because and the way to start, even Warren Buffett tells us that you need a financial plan. Like everybody needs a wealth plan.
Hmm.
Because Warren Buffett has this quote, says an idiot with a plan can outperform a genius without one. And so we need to just have a financial plan and start the process, and don't let any of the emotional baggage of debt get in the way, or I think I should be farther ahead than where I'm at, because we all negatively compare ourselves to our neighbors. Like,
Right.
no, just start. Like, who cares what anyone else is doing? What do you need to fix? I don't care how much debt you have. Like, we need to fix it so you can be able to live wealthy. And that's what my book is about. It's like everybody has the opportunity to raise their expectations on what is possible for them in their life
Hmm.
if they just start.
Yeah. And the earlier you start, the better, because you
Of
have
course.
a longer period of time. I mean, if you start at 25 and retire at 65, you got 40 years there. And and your your investments grow and your portfolio grows depending upon rates of return and time and everything else, but probably it has four opportunities in those 40 years to double.
Right, but we also
So,
don't want to tell people that if they haven't started, yes, I mean, it's
oh
money's
yeah.
never cheaper in your 20s and 30s. Like, let's be real about that. I have
Hmm.
two teenage daughters, and I'm telling them, you're waiting tables, you're hosting, we're putting 15% of your money away, because it's never cheaper to do that. But
Hmm.
again, because we are living longer, like you gotta have your money work for you, especially in these markets today, because
Hmm.
you can make up for some lost time right
Hmm.
now based on where we're at with the market cycle.
Yeah, and especially if you have a 401k with your employer, that's the best way to really jump ahead. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't take advantage of the matching
Right.
funds in a 401k, which is
Mhm.
100% rate of return right there.
100%. Absolutely.
So, and in the episodes I've done and people I've talked to, and oftentimes people have this feeling that saving and investing for retirement is hard, that it takes discipline, that you got to budget, that you got to put money aside, this, that, and the other thing. And they see it as a slog and a struggle. How do you convince people otherwise and give them more a positive outlook on the process?
Well, first of all, I believe that you don't, I don't believe in budgets.
Hmm.
Budgets don't work. It's like Steve, you and I wanting to be on a diet the rest of your life. Would you do that?
Well, I don't
Would you
know
do that?
I don't know that a diet and a budget are one-to-one comparable. I mean, I think that you need to be
Oh, I
disciplined with
do.
your money.
Yes, 100%. A budget is a scarcity mindset, and it's about like being like you have to be just the word budget. Like
Mhm.
nobody likes that word. Why do you think people don't take action? Because we use it. And so it's like telling you that you need to be on a diet the rest of your life. I don't want to be on a diet the rest of my life. We want a spending plan instead of a budget. We want flexibility and fluidity so we can live for today
Mhm.
and plan for tomorrow. And you can do that if you plan and have a tax advisor
Mhm.
attached to your financial plan. I own this investment firm, for 23 years. It's called Relevate Financial Group. And I have a CPA attached to my firm because when you plan right, and when you put money in the right spot, you're actually minimizing your taxes. And you're either going to pay more to the government or pay more to yourself. And it's a choice that you get to make. And so we teach people how to effectively put their money away in the right spot. So they're either saving tax dollars today or they're saving tax dollars tomorrow. And what happens is when you do that, you actually have almost just enough money today for yourself, whether you choose to save for tomorrow or not. So I think that's just this, it's our industry has done a really crappy job at educating our clients that, yeah, we have to be on a budget. We have to sacrifice today for tomorrow, because you don't, if you plan right. If you plan not just with investing, but you plan with taxes, and then you look at your core values, like I talked about earlier, like everyone should be able to spend their money on their core values. Their spending plan includes the things that they value the most in life. And I don't care what it is. If it's travel, then do that. If it's, for women, if it's your nails, go do that. If it for guys, if it's hunting or video game, like whatever, it doesn't matter. Like do the things that fills you up as a human being and prioritize your spending, because us human beings waste, just like food. I'm going to put it back to food. We waste so much food, right? And we waste so much money. And if we're just in alignment with our spending and our money, I'm telling you, you don't have to sacrifice today. And you can see I get really fired up about this, because I think that's what prevents people from taking action.
Well, I think that like anything else, budgeting is something you can overdo. Budgeting in a sense that a diet is like, oh, you got to watch all your intake. You got to lose a certain number of pounds. You can't eat what you want to eat. And there's that negative aspect to it. But I think that to some extent, a budget is a plan. You have a plan with your money. And that's what a budget plan is. So you need that. Otherwise, you have no idea how much you're spending on what, whether you're prioritizing it properly. If okay, this is how much comes into the household every month. We got to pay the mortgage. This is how much we're paying for gas. This is how much we're paying for food, things like that. We know where the money's going, and therefore can be more comfortable about how we spend it, because we have that plan. It's not watching every single dollar.
No.
It's saying these are our priorities, prioritizing our spending. Pay yourself first. So you're 100%. Setting aside and investing first, and then take the rest of the money and say, okay, this is what we're going to spend. But I think that people, they shouldn't obsess over a budget, but they do need a spending plan, if you just want to call it something else.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of both right. Have that spending plan, but don't obsess over it. Don't feel like you got to scrimp and say. There was a commercial, I forget what it was for, the product, whatever, this kid growing up, he wouldn't spend any money. Hey, you want to go out and get some candy? No, I'm saving for retirement. He's 10.
Yeah, right. And he's not living his childhood.
And he's out on a date with a girl as an adult, and he decides to go for the larger popcorn than the smaller popcorn, for which the girl believes, oh, he must love me. He's going for the big popcorn, but he wouldn't pay for the soda to go with it.
Yeah, and that's the mindset, I think, of the scarcity limiting mindset that we were taught from our parents and our grandparents, is that let's not focus on saving $3. If you want the soda pop, I'm from the Midwest, but I live in Arizona, so the soda, it's okay, go get the soda, but let's take that soda, and instead of worrying about the $3 you're spending, go make another $5,000 and be smart about earning a higher income so you can afford to live. And I just think that focus in our lives is like, let's not worry about the latte, or let's not worry about the soda. But if you don't worry about that, then you need to take that concern, and I don't want to use the word worry, but you need to take that and go, how do I gain more from my time and my money so I can live my life? Because a 10-year-old, we want them to live too, right?
Right.
Yes.
Well, that was my next question. Getting to the next question, the one of the popular themes of budgeting and saving for retirement and everything else is, well, don't go off to Starbucks to get your coffee every morning. Just brew it up and put it in a travel mug, and you'll save that money every day. And I think, and there's a lot of criticism to that as well, to say maybe you're sort of hyper, where if it comes down to whether you get your coffee at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, maybe there's something else you're doing wrong here, because it's too much. My wife and I have a budget, and we have what's called margin money. And the margin money is basically the money that's left over after we pay everything in our budget. And we're comfortable with that number. We don't worry about every expenditure, discretionary expenditure that we have, because we know the money's there and we're not spending beyond it. And we know that
Yeah.
we have a plan in place. We know we're saving for retirement, which for us is a lot closer than it is for you. But we know it's there, and we can relax because we have that plan, because we know we have that margin money that we can spend and still be fine.
But you made a great point earlier, Steve. It's about prioritizing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I I personally, like, I was at Starbucks, and I'm not going to downturn, like, tell people not to do that, right? Because
Yeah.
I believe it. Like, if you want the coffee, go get it, and then just get more income and figure
Right.
out how you can be a better, a smarter, more efficient, resourceful human being to earn more money. I
Mm-hmm.
100% agree with that. But I was traveling last weekend, and when I went up to Starbucks for a medium, whatever, it was $6.88. And I was like
Yeah.
every day. I'm like, no, not because I don't prioritize that much.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, while I travel, sure. But I have two teenage daughters, and when I see them going to get their drinks every day, I'm like, you guys, like, fine if that's what you want to do. But I'm telling you, on your $16,000 income, you're part-time, like, you're not going to prioritize that. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
we got to be smarter with the things, like, you call it margin money, I call it your value. Like, what do you value the most in your life? Spend
Mm-hmm.
your money on that kind of stuff within a reason. Like, I tell people, after their real net income, and real net income is after you paid your taxes, but most importantly, not just the taxes, but after you've committed a percentage of your gross income to your future.
Mm-hmm.
That's real net income. Okay.
Right.
So
That's paying yourself first. Yeah.
you pay your future self first, and then you pay your a reduced tax bill. When you pay
Mm-hmm.
yourself first, you pay a reduced tax bill, and then you have your net income. And I allow people to spend 25% of their real net income on the things that they value the most. If it's a $7 coffee, then go do it. But just know, then you're not taking your trip, or you're not, fishing, or you're not, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever, you're not going to be able to do everything, because we don't have unlimited resources, but we have to be smart with not wasting our money on the things that don't provide us the most value.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like what you're talking about is the subject of my next question. You talk about spending freedom. And now, is this what you're talking about? Is that just spending freedom, or is this something different? And how does it change your financial mindset?
Yeah. So again, that real net income, and then what I tell my clients to do is they have four buckets. 25% of their real net income, again, after taxes and saving for your future.
Mm-hmm.
25% can be spent on you, your core values, or if you have a significant other or spouse, you got to take that together, and then you get to argue with your spouse on who gets, how to divvy that up. But 25% of your spending should be on the things that you want to live, like how you want to live today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say 35% can go to your debt, as long as it's good debt. If you have bad debt, credit card debt, or debt that's not attached to an appreciating asset, then we need to get rid of that. But 35% of your real net income on your debt. So we got 25% to core values, 35% to your good debt. Then we have 35% to your household expenses. It's all the stuff that takes to live, like all the stuff we don't want to spend money on, but we have to live.
Right.
We have to eat, we have to pay our insurance, we have to pay our utilities, all that kind of stuff. And then a 5% of that real net income goes to gifting, whether that's to a charity, whether that's to your church, whether it's to just giving a server, someone who's provided you service, and wanting to give them a little bit extra tip because they did some good deeds for you. Go ahead and freely do that, because that's what comes back to you a million times over. in so many different ways. But if you have these four buckets, the core value, the debt, the household expenses, and your gift bucket, and you create some flexibility and fluidity in that,
Mm,
that's how you get to spending freedom.
mhm. Well, you're talking about good debt, just by way of example. I mean, we're talking about your mortgage, a car payment, things like that. There, where you've incurred debt reasonably. I mean, people, you incur debt to buy a home. Most people can't buy a car outright, and you need a place to live, and you need transportation.
Mhm.
Would you classify that as good debt, or if not, are there other examples so that people can better understand the concept?
Yeah, great question. Good debt is a debt that's attached to an appreciating asset, a house.
Right.
So yes, for the majority of us, I have a huge mortgage because my interest rate again is under 3%. I understand you can't get that right now, and it's a tax write-off to me. So I'm paying 2.9% on my mortgage plus it's a tax write-off. So I might be paying 2.2% to
Mhm,
have debt on my home. That's a
mhm.
beautiful thing because then I can take that money that I would have put on my home and invest it at a much
Right.
bigger rate. Okay. So that's good debt. I also agree with you, Steve. Let's be real. Most people have car debts. I lease. So that's just like a car debt too. A car is not an appreciating asset, which
Yeah.
we all know. But the reality is that most of us have car payments. So you have to include any debt that you have. So car payments, lease payments, mortgage payments, in that debt pool, that 35% of your money towards those debt payments. But what happens is when we have credit card debt, and I'm going to say this, with if you have debt, credit card debt, and you need help, or medical debt, we're here to help you. Steve's here to help you. I'm here to help you. We want to help you get out of that debt, and I don't want you to feel guilty. But
Mhm,
that debt is what will kill you. That's
mhm,
the debt. That's the debt that will like allow you to have bad behavior
mhm,
if you don't get rid of that and have a plan to get rid of that. Because whatever you've put on your credit card, I've done the math. For most people, it like if you put a vacation on your credit card, it ends up costing you about three times the amount of money
mhm.
that you thought it was going
Right.
to cost you because we can't pay it off.
Mhm,
So again, debt is okay, but credit card debt is not okay. And if you have debt, let us help you get out of that because you'll get nowhere in life if you continue to have that credit card debt. And it weighs on you. It kills marriages. It kills relationships.
mhm.
It destroys lives. Nobody deserves to live like that.
And it can make life tougher in other areas if you're carrying. Now, obviously, what we're talking about in credit card debt is where you're carrying a balance, not where you're using your credit card and paying it off every month.
Oh, yeah, because that's not
So,
debt then. Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
clarify that. Well, it's debt in the sense that it's part of your credit score. It's responsible use of credit and debt. But if you carry a balance, if you use your credit cards above utilization, and it negatively affects your credit score, where it makes it more difficult to get a car loan if you need a new car, and of course, cars are selling above sticker these days, so it's even more. Uh, and it can make it more difficult to get insurance. There are all sorts of things that are rated by credit scores. So it's making life more difficult in many different areas.
Hmm. It is. It is. But it's the debt you hold
Yes.
on a regular, yes, over the 30 days.
Right. Exactly.
Because if you pay that off in 30 days, it's no interest to you, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Yep.
now you talk about mindset and spending freedom being part of a financial mindset. Uh, could you give us like you talk about there are like three ways to cultivate a positive financial mindset? So you give our listeners maybe some pointers on what they can do, what steps they can take,
Yeah. Yeah.
practically speaking and tactically speaking, to develop a better financial mindset.
Yeah. I the most important thing is understanding that when we talk about mindset, we're talking
Mhm,
about our mind. And
mm,
it's the biggest gift to us, and it can be the biggest detrimental, like asset that we have, because our mind likes to play tricks on us. It likes us to live in this scarcity, fearful, I can't have that, I don't deserve that, guilt, all those negative emotions are
Mm-hmm.
formed in our thinking. And a lot of times our thinking is formed, what we think about ourselves and what we think about our wealth is formed by the time we're age 6. The so-called mind experts say that. And
Mm-hmm.
so at age 6, you don't even know how to tie your shoe barely, let alone you've formed your beliefs about
Mm-hmm.
money. So we have to recondition our thinking. So to change your mindset, you have to know that your mind is going to play some games on you. And it's going to tell you false things all the time. But you also, as a human being, need to understand that you have complete control over your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So if your mind is giving you a negative thought, you can change it like this and change it to a positive thought. So that's the first thing with mindset, is that knowing that you have control over this beautiful tool that likes to play lots of games on us, but
Mm-hmm.
we internally get to make that decision. And that's the empowerment that we need to understand. That's the first thing. The second thing is emotions. Like, we don't get to control our emotions. Like, I live with anxiety and my whole life, and it's like I didn't ask for anxiety. I don't want to feel anxious, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just something that happens in my body. And so what I know is that I can't control that, but I can absolutely control how I react to that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding that when you can control your reaction and how you react to your emotions and how you react, which is also the same thing as how you react and respond to the challenges that we all deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We all have challenges every single day. And it's how we respond to those challenges. And how we all respond to those challenges is how we respond to our emotions. Our,
Mm-hmm.
are our emotions going to get the best of us? Are we going to let them sit for a minute or 24 hours
Mm-hmm.
and then respond? And that's the biggest thing too. You got to know that emotions need to move through your body, and it's not okay to respond right away when you're emotional to yourself. So let those flow through your body until you become rational, because you can't be emotional and rational at the same time. And so knowing that when you give your emotions time, and that allows you to respond better to the challenges that we all have. We all
Mm-hmm.
have them. And then knowing that you are in control of your thinking, that's how you're able to get a better outcome. And that's how you're able to be a better outcome in your behaviors and how you think.
Basically, take a deep breath. Don't let
Or
your emotions.
multiple
Yeah,
deep, right?
sometimes it takes more
Right.
than one. But
Yes,
yes,
because yes, it's
your initial reaction to something, to adversity, to a problem, to you know whatever it is in your financial or personal life, we tend to react emotionally. But take a step back, take that deep breath, and try to think more rationally about what's happening and what the possible solutions are.
absolutely. And we all have to do with it, deal with that. And, some of the hardest times that I've had in my life is where I needed 5,000 deep breaths. Like I took a couple of days
Mhm.
before I responded. I don't know if anyone has kids out there too. We need to do the same thing with the kids. Cause it's like, sometimes I just want to, like, oh my gosh, you are in so much trouble. And then then my mind stops and my emotions, and it's like, okay,
Mhm.
let's just deal with this in a more rational way. But I think it's so important, where emotions of human beings are beautiful. It's what makes us tick, and we get excited to live our life. But we also need to understand too that we do need 5,000 breaths sometimes, and just let that move through us. And then we'll think better when we're
Yeah.
not reacting emotionally. And that's that behavioral financial certificate that I have, and the certification, because I realized that so many of my clients were reacting emotionally to their money,
Mhm.
in both positive ways and negative ways. And it's like, we really have to make sure that we're thinking rational about our money versus just emotional. And then when you have that combination, you're able to live what I call live wealthy. I didn't just spell the word wealthy wrong. I spelt it because it's about living well, which is our thinking and our emotions, and making really good decisions on how we want to live our life. And then
Mhm.
having the money to support that, and not getting caught up in the negative connotation we all have with money. Most of us think there's not enough. It's because we're on a budget, and we have adapted these words that make us feel yucky about our money, and
Mhm.
that's not okay.
Yeah. Well, why don't we end up where we started?
Okay.
And I when I introduced you, I talked about your upcoming book, Live Wealthy, Own Your Worth, Grow Your Wealth. When this book comes out, uh, if one of our listeners says, "Hey, I want to read that," and opens the book and reads it, what can they expect to get out of reading your new book? How does that help them?
Yes, they're going to get proper wealth alignment. They're going to be able to own their worth, which is totally understanding everything about you.
Hmm.
It's understanding the all of your worth, your weaknesses, your strengths, your vision, core value. Like it's really taking you through some exercises to really own all that is you. And that helps you build your self esteem. And it's also going to teach you how to earn it, which is how do you respond to life? Like, how do you make those good responsive decisions to
Hmm.
help you get to your version of living wealthy? Because your version of living wealthy is different than mine. So it's going to help you understand how do you respond to the curveballs in life so you get what you want out of life. And then the grow it section, we've tried to make it super easy so it's not super technical, but really how do you have a financial plan? How do you have a spending plan? How do you invest your money? What type of person should you be working with? How do you create where your money can work harder for you than you do it? So it's own it, earn it, grow it, and they get all of that in the book Living Wealthy, which launches April 11th. So I don't know when this podcast, again, the actual date it's going to go live, but the book will be on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and it's taken 3 years to get this out to the world, and I'm 100% confident it'll touch every single person's life.
Great. Well, terrific. I'm sure that I believe this should come out, you know, soon after the book release. So folks out there listening, certainly look into that. Uh, I'm sure it'll be available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, that sort of thing, if they want to reach out and order it. Uh, other than the book, how else can people, if they want your help and learning the emotional aspects of money and everything, and learning how to calm down and not be fearful, how can they reach out to you for your help?
Yeah, so my website, Dawn Dahlby, you can find anything and everything there. If people, what I've done over the last 4 years now, is I've created an online digital platform for, because I have a mission. I'm just starting my second half of my life, and I have a mission to help 1 million people become millionaires.
Mhm.
And so if you're not a millionaire yet, you can come into this digital platform because I've made it so effective from a cost perspective to help you and give you that fiduciary advice without having to go to a bank or talk with an advisor who's going to charge you a commission. So
Mhm.
they can come into the platform if they have less than $1 million and they want that digital, and where I'm going to help you with the emotion part and also with the technical part. And then
Mhm.
clients that have approximately a 500,000 on up, I do have an investment firm that is more of a concierge one-on-one approach where we do your taxes, we do your investments, we help you manage your money, we do your financial plan, we help you make your decisions. We're hand holding you and through that process. But I truly believe through all of my experiences that you don't really need to pay for that concierge one-on-one service until you've at least have a $500,000 in your investment portfolio.
All right, great. Well, wonderful discussion, Dawn. I'm sure the listeners got a lot out of it, and they can certainly feel free to get your book and learn even more. So, thanks for being on the show, Dawn.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to talk with you, Steve.
Great.